Q is, as far as I can tell, very clearly a psychological operation. But the question is what is the psycho operation's intention?
This is the QAnon Shaman. You guys may remember him from January 6th. He raided the Capitol on January 6th, 2021, I think, leading up to Biden's inauguration, tried to stop the electoral count and all that stuff. Well, he's just released from jail. He's apparently been in jail this entire time, and he gave an interview to One America News Network host Allison Steinberg, I think is her name. I've covered her a few times before. She's way out there, like way out there, but I want to talk about the QAnon Shaman. And then I want to listen to a couple of excerpts from the interview, which is what we see here on screen. This is from the interview. So let's talk about the QAnon Shaman. Just get a little refresher of some of the crazier things that this dude has said in the past. And then we're going to listen to a couple of things he said in his recent interview. Check this out. This is on January 6, 2021.
Perhaps better known as the QAnon Shaman.
Dude's name's Jacob Chansley.
This writer entered the Capitol on January 6th, was photographed leaving a threatening note on the dais in the U.S. Senate chamber, and was ultimately sentenced to 41 months in prison after pleading guilty to obstruction of an official proceeding.
Wow, dude, that's a lot of time. 41 months. He hasn't served all that time. I wonder why he got out. How many? That's 3.5 years. So how long was he in prison then? I'm wondering. Here we go. So NPR wrote an article about this. U.S. Capitol rioter, the QAnon Shaman, is released early from federal prison. Extremely unusual. Usually in state cases, people can be released after, I don't know, they've served 40% of their sentence, 60%, kind of depends on the state, I think. If you're on good behavior, like if you've had good behavior the entire time, you have the opportunity to be released a little bit early, right? You can only serve half the time if you want. You get a charge that's a 1 to 10 sentence. You get sentenced to 5 years in prison for that. You serve 2.5 of that, and then they let you out on parole. Basically, that's kind of how it works, but not in the federal system. In the federal system, you have to serve almost all your time, like 85% of the time or something like that. So this dude's sentenced to 3.4 years, 41 months. I don't know why they picked that number. So he had to serve a minimum of 35 months, basically, which is just under 3 years. 36 months would be 3 years. Quick interjection. I won't take long. I just wanted to tell you guys, YouTube's algorithm operates off of a few factors. Watch time, whether or not you subscribe, and whether or not you like something. So if you really want to help my channel, I would appreciate it if you guys watch the video to the end. If you don't watch it to the end, just watch a little bit longer than you would have otherwise. I would appreciate that very much. All right, let's get back to the video. So, anyways, let's read just a couple snippets from this article real quick. Jacob Chansley received one of the longest sentences handed down to a U.S. Capitol rioter. Has been released early from federal prison and sent to a re-entry center. So probably like a halfway house. I'm honestly not sure why they let him out. Chansley, 35, is convicted of obstruction of an official proceeding in November 2021, sentenced to 41 months in prison. But prison records show that Chansley's been moved to a residential re-entry management facility in Phoenix, where he's originally from, and is expected to be released on May 25th. He was released. Chansley received an early release in part because of his good behavior while in prison, says Albert Watkins, who represented Chansley through his plea and sentencing. This is a quote from his lawyer, I guess. Mr. Chansley can now move forward with his life. For that, I applaud the BOP, Watkins told NPR in a statement. I don't know what the BOP is. Bureau of Prisons. Okay. Interesting. That's super, super uncommon. I cannot believe they let him out. Anyways, yeah, I just want to listen to like a couple of things that this guy's had to say since he got out and since he was inside. Check this out. Late May 2023. This is his first public appearance since getting out on May 25th, 2023. Listen to what he said here. Notice his cute bandana and tie. There are, if you're listening and not watching, they are stars and stripes. I don't think the founders would appreciate this very much. I think they would find a reason to put this dude in jail just for that. But okay. Nice white suit, too.
So, in the spirit of Christ's example, I would like to use this official statement to make it extremely clear that I have no animosity or hatred toward the United States federal government. And I have forgiven my captors, and I pray for them.
That's fascinating because it tells me he hasn't learned a damn thing. This guy broke the law. This guy contributed to a coup on the U.S. government, an attempted coup. And he's forgiving his captors. Really? He's clueless. He didn't learn anything, did he?
Because that is what Christ would do. The next part of my journey.
Because that's what Christ would do, he said. Oh my God, dude.
The next part of my journey entails using the power of patience and peace to spread the truth and to do so in the spirit of a Christ-like forgiveness.
I mean, the guy's a full-blown QAnon nutter butter, so I don't know why he's going down this whole path of, like, forgiveness and love and all this other nonsense. Absolutely unhinged from reality. Seriously. It's crazy.
In closing, Gandhi once said,
He's quoting Gandhi.
first they ignore you, then they laugh at you, then they fight you, then you win. So it seems I've already undergone the first 3 stages of this process. Now, all there is left to do is win.
Oh, God. Just, this is so sad. You know, the dude is using Gandhi to his benefit. He's quoting Gandhi to prove that he's right. This QAnoner. This is nuts.
Remember, knowledge always overcomes power.
Wow, dude. Knowledge overcomes power. Okay. Fascinating. Well, this isn't like the first, interview that he's done. This isn't the first public appearance. He's been all over the place intentionally. He has set out to do as many public appearances as he possibly could. And as a matter of fact, he did an interview on 60 Minutes Plus, I believe. It was on CBS, I think. Yeah, CBS this morning played parts of the interview. Just listen to what he had to say here real quick. It's fascinating. This is March 4th, 2021. This is actually a relevant date because, there's this big QAnon conspiracy theory I'm not going to get into right now. But middle, March 4th is the date that Donald Trump was supposed to be inaugurated as the real president because of some loophole with Civil War reconstruction, blah, 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 just garbage. Anyway, it's like I said, QAnon conspiracy theory, it's nonsense. That's probably why they chose to do it on this date, just to see what he had to say. So check this out.
I also said a prayer in that sacred chamber because it was my intention to bring divinity and to bring God back into the Senate.
Yeah, he's trying to justify being there on January 6th.
Jake, legally, you were not allowed to be in what you're calling the sacred chamber.
And that is the one very serious regret that I have, was believing that when we were waved in by police officers, that it was acceptable.
Oh, waved in by police officers, you say? Interesting. Okay. Well, you know what? This is a provable claim. Let's just jump forward about 3 seconds because I happen to have the clip here. You guys have no idea how much research I put into this. I spent literally hours looking for some of these clips to disprove some of the stuff this guy says. Check this out. March 16th, 2021 is when this footage was released to the public, but it's of January 6th. This is footage of the Proud Boys, among others, other people too, breaking windows to get into the Capitol. Watch this. Boy, it would be like embarrassing and shameful if we saw the QAnon shaman somewhere in this video, wouldn't it? Wow, that would just shoot his whole defense to shit, wouldn't it?
This is our country!
So you can see here they're breaking a window, right? I'm gonna turn the sound off or down here. So they're breaking a window, and as you can tell, they came prepared for this. If you're listening and not watching, they're breaking a window, and they have gloves on. They have mittens and stuff so that they don't injure themselves on the glass. Okay, this was planned. This is proven beyond a shadow of a doubt. These people showed up and did these things intentionally at these times, at Donald Trump's direction. You know, not for nothing, Charles Manson convinced, 9 people to murder somebody? and he sat in prison for the rest of his life for convincing somebody to break the law like that. Well, people died that day on January 6th. It was a literal government coup attempt. Why isn't Trump in jail for this? Anyway, that's neither here nor there. So they're trying to bust a window in, right? Again, what an embarrassment it would be if we happened to see the QAnon shaman here on film. Okay, so they just busted the window and climbed in and walk around. And the rest of the crowd walks up to the door. You can see them open the door. The people that just busted the window in just climbed in the window and opened the door for the crowd that you can clearly see the QAnon shaman in. You can see his stupid horns sticking up here, right? Dude is on film. He was standing there watching people bust windows in and then walk around and unlock the door and let him in. The police waved you in, huh? Interesting. Very interesting. There's a better shot of him there. I just wanted to get it better on film. These are his tattoos, clear as day. You can see these. This is his hat. This is the little hat that he's wearing under his horned thing. This is the QAnon shaman. Plain as day. He was standing in a crowd waiting for Proud Boys or some other provocateurs to bust a window in so that they could unlock the door and let him in, and that's what happened. They were not invited in. They were not waved in by police. This is what would you call it, a narrative that Tucker Carlson actually set up, that the police invited them in. It was basically like a tour. They were just touring the place. No big deal. Just, a few busted windows, a few dead people, that's all. Everything else was totally cool, right? So tell me again, Jacob, about how you were waved in by police.
And that is the one very serious regret that I have, was believing that when we were waved in by police officers, that it was acceptable.
Fascinating to catch people lying just blatantly to people's faces, right? Now, for what it's worth, there were some cases where this is how crowd control works. You start with barriers. They're like those big metal things that are kind of like rectangular, They have the feet on the bottom and they stand up. You have those barricades up, and they did on January 6th. They had those barricades up around the U.S. Capitol. And as some of the barricades fell, they were trying to kind of push the crowd in a very specific direction. So instead of having the entire crowd rush in all at once, the police moved two of the barricades and fell back to another fortified position. So Tucker Carlson takes footage of these police officers trying to do this crowd control of a full-blown riot, a riotous insurrection. He takes footage of cops trying to do crowd control on this and twists it around to make it seem as though they were waved in by police. No, we just saw them break a window and walk in and unlock the door for the QAnon shaman. Not getting one over on us that easily. Again, you have no idea how much time I spent looking for this stuff for real. I don't update it regularly, but if you want any of the clips that I ever cover, free of charge, just owenmorgan.com/clips. That's all you got to do. Go there. It's a Dropbox link. You can just scroll through any of the dates and when they were covered, and you should be able to find the clip that you're looking for. I think Dropbox has a search function now. I think. I'm not sure. So, anyways, yeah. If you want any of them, owenmorgan.com/clips. So, anyways, I want to talk about some of his conspiracy theories, some of the things that he believes, right? Because he's about to, in this latest interview that he did with Allison Steinberg, this one here, he's about to tell us what he believes now. So, I want to establish what he believed then, when he was in prison, when he went to prison. He did an interview with Channel 5, which is a YouTube channel run by, I forget the dude's name now, Anthony something or other. Anyway, let me just give a little bit of lead up to this. He's about to talk about the storm. For those who don't follow QAnon very closely, the storm is their mythical day when, everything is set right and Donald Trump is installed as the dictator and all of the bad people are arrested by the white hat people in the military and blah, 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 It's kind of like not their Armageddon, but like their return of Jesus, kind of, a little bit. I mean, Jesus doesn't come back in the storm. It's just all the bad guys are arrested and taken out, and they failed in their attempts and, everything else. So that's what the storm is. Now, January 6th was supposed to be the storm. That was supposed to be the day that Donald Trump was installed as the dictator, in all seriousness. And that's what the Channel 5, reporter asked the guy. Wasn't January 6th the storm? What happened to the storm? Is it ever going to happen? I mean, Donald Trump even references the storm, like, constantly. So, anyway, listen to what Jacob Chansley said about it.
First of all, I think that we were in the midst of the storm with all of this COVID stuff.
Okay, that's nonsense. The storm is a single event that takes place where everything is set right and all the bad guys are arrested and Donald Trump is installed as a dictator. That is not what happened, okay?
I think that we're in the midst of it right now. If you think about the damage that's being done to our economy, to our culture, to our national identity.
Dude, what? The storm was a good thing. What are you talking about? Guy's lying out his... He knows he's lying. He knows the QAnon belief system, and he knows what he's saying right now does not match up with it. Why is he doing this?
To the truther movement, as it were. But I think that it's important that people realize that people now know about child and human trafficking, and they also know about the hundreds of deep underground military bases in the United States and all over the world. They also know about things like spiritual parasites and the way that psychic vampires play a role. That's what these
psychic vampires? I'm sorry? Dude, this is getting straight up unhinged for real.
That's what these Satanists are. They're like psychic vampires.
Okay.
They're like demonic possessed people. That's part of what black magic is you allow your body to be like a vessel for a demonic spirit. People know about the deep state. They know about how blackmail is used in the deep state too.
FYI, a minute ago he mentioned child trafficking. People know more about child trafficking now and everything else. It's interesting he mentions that. The reason he brings that up is because QAnon originally blew up the way that it did in the first place because they used the hashtag Save the Children. Hashtag Save the Children. They claimed, 400,000 kids per day are abducted, or 400,000 per year are abducted, or something like that. It's completely made up. That is a false number. Not even close. The number that they're using, 400,000 kids a year or something are abducted, is how many kids under 18 went missing. That doesn't count the ones that were recovered. The runaways, which is estimated to account for about 80% of that number anyways. Kids at 17 years old, they run away from home, 16, 15, 14. About 80% of those 400,000 are accounted for in that. Doesn't account for the ones that, were at the mall with their mom, 10-year-old kids. While mom's looking at earrings at Claire's, the kid wanders off to Baskin-Robbins to stare at the ice cream. Calls the police, who are already right there at the mall because, it's a mall. They file a report, and then they find the kid, 20 minutes later. None of those events are all included under this 400,000 kid umbrella. But QAnoners used the hashtag Save the Children and claimed that some crazy number, 400,000, I think, per year, are abducted by Hillary Clinton, and Joe Biden was added into the mix when they found out he was going to be a contender against Trump eventually. And, whoever, Anthony Weiner, Huma Abedin, whatever other left-wing politician they wanted to target at that moment, they claimed that they were to blame for all of this stuff. And they claimed that it's like a child trafficking ring, that they're a whole human trafficking thing. And QAnon actually got massively popular by propagating this Save the Children hashtag. That's how they exploded. When people got bored during the pandemic, 2020, they're just sitting at home researching all this stuff. QAnon exploded. It was like everywhere. So anyway, that's what he's talking about when he says the human trafficking stuff. Like, God, just everything he says is unhinged from reality.
You allow your body to be like a vessel for a demonic spirit. People know about the deep state. They know about how blackmail is used in the deep state to cover up the crimes against humanity. How it's all...
What crimes against humanity? Oh, and what military bases? He says people now know about all of the hundreds of military bases underground. What? I mean, he said that a minute ago. I played it, but I'm not going to go back. But what is he talking about? This is unhinged. For the record, I mean, I know that one too, if you're curious about the military bases. Like, that's a whole QAnon belief about how military bases exist underground, underneath the United States, like miles and miles underground, and it's a parallel civilization to ours that has technology that's like 100 or 200 years more advanced than we have now, and the military is like using this underground like base to blah, 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 you know how these people are. Anyway, God, just everything, dude, everything.
How it's all these networks, the pedophile networks and the Mockingbird media is used to cover up the truth about this breakaway civilization that's going.
Yeah, breakaway civilization. That's what I was talking about there.
That's going on underneath our feet as we speak. It's people are being neuro-linguistically programmed with the truth. But
okay, oh my God, dude. There are like little breadcrumbs of truth in everything that he's saying, and then he just like goes completely off the rails. Like neuro-linguistically programmed? No. Neuro-linguistic programming is largely complete BS. It's basically, if you're unfamiliar with NLP, also known as NLP, neuro-linguistic programming, it's the idea that you can subliminally program somebody to do something. Like, I don't know, you slowly but surely like show them kind of Pavlovian conditioning. You show them a picture, and then the words that you use slowly but surely reinforce certain ideas in their mind until they're brainwashed. And he believes that the CIA and the FBI does this stuff. It's nonsense. NLP isn't real, okay? It's a pseudoscience. NLP was studied by real scientists and then determined to be nonsense eventually. It's garbage. All of it. Every last bit of it. And he believes that he broke through the NLP programming. It's just sad.
This breakaway civilization that's going on underneath our feet as we speak. It's people are being neuro-linguistically programmed with the truth. But unfortunately, the movement...
Oh, I guess he thinks that he's neuro-linguistically programming people. No, you're not.
But unfortunately, the movement has become fragmented.
That's true enough. The movement is very fragmented. I don't know if you knew this, but there are like denominations of QAnon. Like different groups that are kind of segmented into like who they follow, like which influencer they like the best. Like Ramana Didulo's weird little QAnon group has all kinds of beliefs about extraterrestrials, and they call themselves, what is it they call themselves? Arcturians, that's it. Yeah, she calls herself an Arcturian. She says she is a lizard person. The world is run by lizard people, and she's one of them, but she's a good lizard person. I mean, God, it's like, does it get more unhinged than this? It's crazy. So anyways, yeah, it is very fragmented, but to be a member of QAnon, you have to kind of adhere to certain beliefs, certain foundational, fundamental ideas. You have to subscribe to the idea that the Q clearance patriot, the guy who started it all, was some special military actor or whatever. So anyways, let's listen to his interview with Allison. Yeah, Allison Steinberg. That's her name. I just want to listen to like a couple of clips from this. May 26, 2023, the day after he gets out of prison. He shows up on Allison's thing on One American News Network. Listen to what he had to say when asked about QAnon, how he feels about it now. Since the storm never happened and everything fell apart, it's pretty obvious that QAnon was all BS from the beginning.
Of course, on the infamous day, you held the sign that said, "Q sent me." Tell us more about what that was all about and how Q ties into this.
Okay, so
he's going to tell us now does he still believe in Q since it fell apart the way that it did? I mean, you have to be real devout to believe it now. Some people are.
Okay, so Q is, as far as I can tell, very clearly a psychological operation. But the question is what is the psycho operation's intention? Is it designed to divide people into compartmentalized and propagandized groups?
Okay. I feel like he's just using a lot of nonsensical words there. Is the psychological... So he's saying it's a psyop, right? Alex Jones loves talking about Chi-Com psyops constantly. Like the Chinese communist psychological operations. It's a Chi-Com psyop. Constant. So what he's saying here is that he thinks that QAnon is a psyop. So it's astroturf, not grassroots, not built from the ground up, not a group of people who believe the same thing coming together, but artificially created. That's what he's saying when he says that. That's really interesting, actually. So I guess he thinks that QAnon is fake then? Am I reading this right? Like he doesn't buy it anymore? Let's just listen to his answer one more time in its entirety, because he's like speaking in a way that's like disambiguate, like using words that are way too big. Yes, I used a big word there intentionally.
But the question is what is the psycho operation's intention? Is it designed to divide people into compartmentalized and propagandized groups? Is it designed to create division?
So it sounds like he just said the exact same thing twice. Was the point to create division? Well, I mean, there is division within those groups. Is there any difference between what he just said, or did he just like run out of things to say, so he just started repeating himself?
Division?
I mean, it happens to the best of us. I get it.
Or is it designed to get a certain message about blackmail, about a new world order, one world government, about child trafficking being a real problem in the world, about human trafficking being the largest black market industry in the world?
Oh, fascinating. I mean, all of this is completely made up by QAnon, of course, but that's really interesting. So it sounds like he's saying it's between dividing people into groups and teaching people about all this other nonsense about human trafficking and all this stuff that's simply not happening. Is he saying that he believes that QAnon was a psyop to do both, to both divide people and teach them about like human trafficking or something? What a confusing answer. I don't understand. Look at it. World exclusive interview, it says on the bottom. Oh my God. World exclusive interview.
Problem in the world, about human trafficking being the largest black market industry in the world.
I don't think that's true, and I don't think we have any way to know that for sure. Human trafficking is a bigger problem than people are aware of, but it's not the way that QAnoners view it at all.
The world, about the essentially through human trafficking, human slavery that now is now worse than ever.
No, human slavery through human trafficking, worse than ever. I mean, how would you know? What are your data points on this? You literally just got out of jail yesterday. How would you know any of this stuff? What were your research methods? Did you go through the process of like vetting the sources that you got any of this from? Yeah, this stuff happens in the world, and yeah, it's ugly when it does, and it happens entirely too often. But is any of this honestly even true? Like what he's saying here? Is he just making this up right off the top of his head? Because it sounds like he is. I mean, he's just repeating QAnon talking points right now. That's it.
Worse than ever. 40 million people are enslaved in human trafficking.
40 million enslaved in human trafficking. Is that true? Looks like it's an estimated 27.6 million victims worldwide at any given time are being human trafficked. And it can be any number of different ways. It doesn't have to be a full-blown slavery. It could be all kinds of stuff. You know what Andrew Tate did? Andrew Tate was definitely a human trafficker, without a doubt. It's a perfect example, honestly. So, yeah, even the figures that he's citing are wrong. Well, let me guess. The source that I just got that from, which was the U.S. State Department, was a lie, right? That was a lie.
People are enslaved in human trafficking. Many of them are children. Is it about exposing the Bilderbergs, exposing the World Economic Forum? Is
Okay, these are all anti-Jewish conspiracies.
it about exposing the Trilateral Commission, the Council on Foreign Relations? If that's what the Q, and remember, the Q drops are very different from infiltrators within the Q community that are talking about JFK Jr. being alive and the earth being flat.
Okay, this is fascinating right here. This is what I was talking about, the kind of different denominations, right? The JFK Jr. thing, you know, JFK Jr. comes back and runs for vice president with Donald Trump. That's from a denomination of QAnon called Negative 48. And here's footage of them gathering at the grassy knoll, really, because they believed that JFK Jr. is going to come back. And he didn't. This is actual real footage of QAnoners gathering at the grassy knoll waiting for a guy that died in 1994 to return. Secretly wasn't really dead the whole time. Really. And this group is known as Negative 48. They get their name from gematria, which is a Jewish custom of kind of playing with numbers and letters. It's complicated. Anyways, Negative 48 is basically the antithesis of evil, I believe, is what the gematria means. The name Negative 48 basically would translate into not evil, effectively. Anyways, so he's saying that all those people, the different denominations that splintered off of QAnon, are psychological operations designed to make everybody look crazy, when the real Q drops are 100% legitimate, and the guy that really writes for the QAnon account, claiming to be some government insider, secretly really does have all this information. I love it, honestly. I love it. I love it how these QAnoners are all pointing fingers at each other and claiming that they're the crazy one. No, you're the crazy one. You are. You're making us all look crazy. That's basically what's happening, right? They're complaining about each other looking like nutcases. I'm fascinated. I love this to death. Do more of it, please. But he's saying get back to basics. Just follow the original QAnon and don't go with the Negative 48 stuff or the Ramana Dedulo Arcturian stuff or whatever.
If that's what the Q, and remember, the Q drops are very different from infiltrators within the Q community that are talking about JFK Jr. being alive and the earth being flat.
I guess he calls them infiltrators. Fascinating.
That's what happens in these types of psychological operations is you have people infiltrate and then they disseminate disinformation to discredit the message of those that understand what's actually going on. So Q sent me is something that is around and used widely in the Q community because it's like a way of saying I'm awake and I don't believe the...
Would you say woke, maybe? Was that a word you might use in this context? You're woke?
Community because it's like a way of saying I'm awake and I don't believe the Operation Mockingbird media.
Wow, dude. Just wow. Fascinating stuff, seriously. The Mockingbird media thing, that's another conspiracy theory. Like, oh God, everything out of the guy's mouth is a conspiracy theory. It's crazy. So Operation Mockingbird was a real thing back in like the 1970s or something, where the CIA or the FBI or some three-letter organization was attempting to control the media or something like that. I don't even remember now. It's not happening, okay? Like, they're pretending that this is like this widespread thing that's happening right now. Like, the FBI is behind the scenes pulling levers and telling CNN what to say and telling Fox what to say and telling MSNBC what to say and all of these other organizations. They're all just working for the deep state, you know, and then the FBI, they're telling the media what to say, and then the FBI is being told what to say by, like, George Soros, you know. It's just, God, everything about the things that they believe is unhinged from reality. It's nuts. Fascinating, though. Fascinating answer to his question, do you still believe in QAnon, basically, right? Well, check this next one out. This one was interesting, too. Do you have regrets, was his question.
Do you hold any animosity towards President Trump? And if you had the opportunity, would you do it all over again?
Well, no, I don't have any animosity for Trump. I love Trump.
I mean, dude used you. You really don't have animosity for him? He cynically used you to attempt to maintain power after losing an election. And he suckered you. Do you really not see this? He bamboozled you. He got one over on you. He used you to get what he wanted and threw you away when he was done. How are you not infuriated after years in jail? I mean, how long did he spend in jail? 2 years? 3 years, maybe? No, 1.5 years. I think he spent 1.5 years. So he's arrested November 2021, like 10 months after January 6th. So, yeah, he must have spent like 1.5 years in jail. That's not very long. Anyway, you spend 1.5 years of your life in prison, in federal prison, and you're not upset that this guy cynically took advantage of you, used you for what he could get, and threw you away? You're not upset about that at all? Okay, I would be.
No, I don't have any animosity for Trump. I love Trump. I respect Trump. I don't agree with everything Trump says or does.
No, it was probably a shout out to the vaccine stuff. Trump has been encouraging his supporters to get vaccinated.
But, I mean, this is America, isn't it? We are allowed to have our own opinions. We are allowed to have freedom of speech. And I don't think Trump wants a bunch of yes men around in the first place. I think he would rather have some form of honest opinion, and...
Okay. I mean, he's saying this as though he wants to be part of Trump's administration, part of his crew or something, part of his, like, posse, if you will, his hype man. Is that what he's aiming for right now? I'm kind of worried, because that seems like the exact type of thing Trump would do, right? Bring in, like, all the January 6th people to, like, work with him if he won the 2024 election. Oh, my God. Can you imagine? Everybody who took part in the January 6th insurrection pardoned by Trump 2024 once he wins. I don't think he's going to win. We'll see. I doubt he'll win. But imagine this with me for a second, how horrific this would be. Trump takes office, pardons every January 6th person like he could have done before he left office, the poor fools. I can't believe they're not, like, pissed off at him over what he did. And then Trump brings in every January 6th person after pardoning them to be, like, Secretary of Defense, Secretary of State, Secretary of Transportation, and all of it. Oh, my God. What a nightmare that would be. It sounds like that's what he's dreaming about. Sounds like that's what he's shooting for, right?
Would I do it all over again? There's... I'll just put it this way.
Well, he's a celebrity now, so he wouldn't have an opportunity to be like one of Trump's people, possibly, maybe, hypothetically, if he hadn't done what he did on January 6th. So,
this way. I live without regret because regret is too heavy of a burden if I want to move forward in life.
Okay, sure. But it sounds like what you're telling me is you're glad you did what you did. You'd do it again. That's what that sounded like to me. Am I missing something? Am I mishearing this? This dude is unglued from reality. And he's very obviously aiming for a spot in Trump's cabinet, right? Aiming for a spot in his posse or whatever. Crazy. I don't know, man. Let me know what you think about this in the comments. This is absolutely fascinating to me. I'm deeply entertained by it. I doubt this is going to go anywhere. I doubt that, he's going to, maybe he'll get in Trump's inner circle, but I seriously doubt he's ever going to be anything other than an insurrectionist. Simple as that. His reputation cannot be rehabilitated. He is the embodiment of right-wing nutcase. That is who he is. That's his reputation. So anyway, I'm entertained by it. I think we should be entertained by it. Let me know what you think in the comments. Budman Buds, welcome. The right wing claims the window breakers were undercover FBI, not Trump supporters. So I guess that's what he meant, saying the police let him in. Oh, interesting. Yeah, that doesn't surprise me at all. That's completely made up, of course. But, facts don't matter when these people start spouting off their nonsense. So that could be what they meant. That could be what he meant by that, by the police let him in. Either way, he was not supposed to be in that building. That's what really matters. And he knew that. And he went into that building anyways, despite the fact that he was not allowed to be there. And he knew what he was doing. He knew he was interrupting an official proceeding. Nathan Brown, Trump doesn't love him. Lol, Trump suckered all those people into attacking the Capitol and then left them in jail to rot. Why would they still support him? You got me. Seriously, Trump had the opportunity to pardon them. He had the opportunity to pardon them, and he didn't. He could have done a blanket pardon. Do you know, I believe it was Jimmy Carter did a blanket pardon for anybody who dodged the draft in Vietnam in the 60s. Anybody who avoided it and went to jail because they didn't want to like get involved in the draft or whatever, he pardoned them. Blanket pardon. Trump totally could have done that. He had like weeks afterward. What, January 6th to January 19th, basically, right? How long did he have to sign that order? He signed a bunch of other pardons. I think he signed Steve Bannon's pardon right near the end of his term, didn't he? But nope, nothing for the January 6th people. And these people are sadly still sucking up to him, still love him to death. It's embarrassing for them. Honestly, it's embarrassing for them.